And one other person who has expressed interest in this complex is Gerald Guterman. He bought thousands of New York apartments back in the 70s and 80s, riding the wave of co-op conversion. And now he wants to do the same thing again with Stuy-Town. And Jerry, great to have you with us. Appreciate it. I know you threw your hat into the ring, and some would say Ackman's loss is your gain.
Well, we threw our hat into the ring about 6 or 8 months ago and have been working full-time in order to prepare for an eventuality. We were comfortable that Mr. Ackman's facts didn't support the case that he was trying to make. And so...
What do you mean by that? Exactly what facts?
Well, the facts that were presented to the court. The position of the mezzanine loan and its rights as against the position of the first mortgage and their rights.
Right, so you were not surprised that the judge said, look, you've got to pay these senior creditors. You've got to pay them back their $3.5 billion plus, which you plan on doing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that firstly, I think that the law is very clear. The intercreditor agreement was written very, very straightforwardly. And if an intercreditor agreement doesn't stand, how will it be possible in the future to put mezzanine loans on any piece of property, because the first mortgagee has to be protected?
I see what you mean. All right, so how do you plan on making money on this?
It's always a good question.
Yes.
Right.
Tishman Spires couldn't do it.
We're going to do it as conversion, because the property's value itself is $3 billion if there's a conversion. But if there isn't a conversion, it's considerably less. It could be down to $2 billion. And so consequently, we looked at the property from the very beginning as a conversion. When we looked at everything going on with Tishman Speyer, we felt that we couldn't figure a price, because pricing can't depend on a discount. It has nothing to do with the discount. When you have to price for tenants in possession, you price based on their rent.
Okay.
If they can't afford it, you have a real problem.
So, Jerry, right before the break, I was asking you about, sort of your plan for Stuy-Town, if you were able to eventually buy it. But what I really what I'm driving at is, when do you think it'll be profitable for you?
It can't be profitable during the sale to the tenants. You have to lower that price so that the tenants have the affordability, and then you have to give them the ability to finance it. And all of this will eat up all of the funds that are generated. So we assume out of 11,300 apartments, about 8,000 of them will be purchased by the tenants. They will be dollar for dollar.
And that'll be more than 50%, obviously, which is what you need for.
You need 15%, but it won't be practical not to get at least 50%. We believe we'll get 75 or 80.
Okay.
And if you recall, the previous buyer paid $5.4 billion.
Right.
We're looking for the tenants to pay, if we sold them all out, $3 billion.
Really?
Yes, but we won't sell them all to the tenants because there are vacancies and there will always be people who won't move. That's our profit.
But are we talking about breaking even in 3 years?
We're talking about not breaking even. We're talking about getting out.
Getting out.
And totally out within 18 to 24 months if it's done right. That's how the money moves, yes.
Now, why is it that you can come up with this plan and Tishman Speyer, which had all these grand plans for Stuy-Town, couldn't do it?
Tishman Speyer is an office building specialist and has experience in a whole different field. We've been around a long time. We know the ins and outs of the HPD, and we know the ins and outs of J51. My attorney, who was an assistant general counsel for HPD going back 35 years, he told me right up front, cannot be done. Cannot have rent stabilization taken off during a time when we have a J51 tax abatements.
Right.
Consequently, we knew that, and we did our original bid that way. We never counted on something like that. And it's the same thing with Mr. Ackman's claims and the facts surrounding it. There were no facts that would stand up to scrutiny by a judge.
What if they appeal, which they say they are going to?
And they'll use a few weeks, but they'll lose.
Okay.
I don't believe there are any grounds. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I am an investor for 43 years.
Well, and you've been in it, right, and you have been, and you know the city corner to corner, brick to brick. Stuy-Town is just this famous landmark here in New York and really throughout real estate history. The tenants are almost just as colorful as the history of Stuy-Town. And they can put up some pretty big roadblocks.
Yes, they can.
what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge in talking to them?
The challenge is that we already know what the market value is per square foot in all the surrounding buildings. We also know that we have to provide a loan to them, to each tenant who purchases, based on a purchase price.
Well, you have to guarantee to them that there's going to be a mortgage lender.
We will, that's correct. We're going to guarantee every single tenant will have a mortgage, and it's going to be an 85% mortgage at least. But the carrying costs have to be equal to or less than the current rent they're paying. That's the key to this, so that they have the affordability, they have the financing, and if they don't want to buy, I promise you, there'll be a son or a daughter or a grandchild or a nephew or niece who will want to take advantage of that price, because it'll be so much less as against the outside price.
Jerry, just to clarify, have you officially put your bid in? Have you officially? Or
we didn't officially put the bid in because there was no point in putting the bid in.
Okay, but are you going to?
Now we are, yes.
You are?
Yes.
Like when? As of when?
Within the next 2 or 3 days. We're finishing everything.
Okay, all right. We'll be watching out for that. Jerry.
Thank you.
Great to sit with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jerry Guterman of Condo Recovery, which is bidding, as you hear it here, for Stuy-Town.